Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's Wednesday. That means you've got Don and myself for 2 full hours. And Don, you're on the screen already.
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that.
I just brought you right into this, dude.
Oh, look at that. That's like I'm sitting right in...
That's like you're right there.
It's like I'm in the front room with you. That's a scary thought.
That's the front row right there, Don.
Oh, boy.
Your head's much bigger in person.
Yeah, well, I imagine it is.
All that brains going on. All them brains.
That's why my butt's so big.
I don't even know how that translates, but anyway.
The biggest thing on me is my butt.
I thought it was your beard.
Oh, well, that's just the longest thing on me.
I'm going to take your word for that. I don't want. We're not going to have a measuring contest on anything to do with length.
Whip it out. Your beard. Come on. Whip out your beard.
Well, this is it. This is it. Just covers my chin. That's it. That's all I'm working with, Don. I haven't got the...
Show me what you're working with.
I ain't got the jeans to push, the chest beard. I don't have it. It just ain't in me,
The jeans is where I keep the other stuff.
Oh, hey. And welcome to the show, everybody. And this is probably a good barometer for what you can expect for the rest of the show if you're new. This is it. Welcome.
The Moz will apologize for us. It's okay.
Oh, my God. Oh,
wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, give a clap.
Thank you, Monagard. Outstanding. We love you, brother. Thanks so much.
He's
really
showing his supportal. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks a bunch. We got a bunch of stuff going into the fun bin tonight here on the portal, as always.
As opposed to the trash bin.
Yeah, which is right next to the recycle bin. Yeah. We have a lot of things to get through and to do on the show tonight. But first of all, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's yeah. So everybody knows that my laptop took a
that thing was gasping.
Yeah,
it was dragging its circuits across the desk.
I was like,
barely.
So I got the new one ordered, so it should be here soon.
Hersa Portal. Oh, Monogard. I didn't realize. Hersa Portal. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, gotcha.
Very cool. Sorry for the, it's kind of it's an ambiguous name. Monogard. What, I don't know. I'm a Midwestern guy, so I'm not real worldly when it comes to things. I was raised around corns and forests.
We
and that's
still
about
appreciate you.
But we love you just the same. Thank you so much. That's really awesome. But
and hopefully you still love us just the same.
Yeah, hopefully we didn't screw that up. Where's the cancel button? Where's the cancel button?
These guys screwed up for the last time.
Yeah. So your laptop died.
Yep. Oh yeah. So
was this going somewhere?
Well, it was just I finally got the new one ordered and it should be here soon.
He should actually be able to surf while he's on the show again.
Yeah, actually do like research on the fly,
Go figure.
Yeah,
that's I kind of miss that when you Google up things quick. But we'll get there again, folks. When's it coming, by the way?
It should only be like a week.
Oh, nice.
It's coming from Newegg, so Newegg's really quick with their shipping. As a matter of fact, I just got it today, and I already have the tracking numbers for it.
Oh, very cool. So it went right out the door.
It was like, hey, let's get
we got a live one.
Hey, he needs it for his show.
Oh, is that what?
God, I wish.
I need it to do my story.
Got to do a story.
Yeah, we got to do a story. We got some stories for you tonight, folks.
We got a lot of stories.
We got a lot of stories. But before we go any further, I'd just like to thank tonight's sponsor, which is, of course, our very good friends at Cryptid Coin. Then, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've been telling you about this for a while now, but again, I really appreciate what these guys are doing because they are bringing the opportunity to offer funding to cryptozoological research teams around the world. And to me, that is revolutionary because up until this point, people were funding their own research, and it was never going to garner the kind of resources that so many other pursuits do that fall within the mainstream. So I think it's really exciting that they are doing this. It's a brand new cryptocurrency. You can choose to invest, or if you want to learn more about how to qualify for some of those grants, then head over to cryptidcoin.io and check it out. It's just an amazing new, exciting possibility for the cryptozoological research. And, of course, for all of us enthusiasts who are just waiting with bated breath for the next piece of evidence. Definitive proof. Absolutely. So, again, head over to cryptidcoin.io for more information. Cryptidcoin.io. And thank you again, Cryptid Coin, for sponsoring the Paranormal Portal. All right, so I think we're about ready to dig in, Don. How are you doing?
I've got my shovel ready to dig out all this.
Dig out, yeah. About to spread some fertilizer here, so.
Yup.
All right.
Like a sewage sprinkler.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
hang on, because we're going in. Oh, okay. It's dragging him backwards.
Yeah, dragging him. Yep.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yep.
That's very nice. I didn't even read the whole message, but now I did. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you saying you just got the message?
Well, it just got through the fatty layers between my ears, I guess. You hear the little kitten?
Yeah,
he's
I'm
just
watching
going.
him.
He's going to town. We got a new little kitten here. Well, he's a year old, and we're introducing him to the family here, and he's a little pistol, but I think he's actually going to rule the roost. Like Nubis is totally getting punked by this little 1-year-old cat. And he's just going to town on his little play balls, the little balls and stuff that he plays.
He likes to play with his balls.
No, he doesn't have his own anymore. So he needed some to play with, I guess.
Every dude needs a pair.
Oh, man.
You're going to leave that one right there.
You're just going to circle the drain on that one, aren't you? All right.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. Well, there you go. So if you hear that jingling in the background,
Ring ding ding.
yeah, it's not Christmas. It's a little white, fluffy ball of claws and attitude. So
5 pointy, five. Yes, 5. They have 5 pointy ends. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're razor sharp. So, all right. So I guess let's get started.
Please.
Why don't we go into the news before this gets any worse? The news, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time to get things started.
It's time. Let's get it started. Right in here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk, which I am, of course, anchoring. I'm Brent Thomas, and this is my good co-anchor, Mr. Longbeard.
You know why they're called anchors, don't you?
I have no idea.
Because they're holding it down.
Oh! There we go, folks. That's kind of humor you've come to love here on the portal. And it's free, no extra charge. It's all free. Let's get to the Paranormal Portal news. We've got some articles to go through here. I don't know. I never did look at how big it is. This is interesting. This one kind of creeps me out because I didn't know this existed.
Wow, that would suck.
It would suck.
Oh, wow.
Listen to that guy. He's just exploding on that thing, isn't he?
He's ready. Yeah,
I gotta like get some Benadryl in his next toy. Like, hey, I tried the catnip, but that's part of the problem. I think
that's probably part of the problem.
All right, so this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. First article tonight, and this is pack hunting spiders detect vibrations and swarm their prey.
That can't be
pack hunting spiders. What? No, it's true. So if you're already freaked out by spiders, you don't want these because they bring friends.
They come in packs.
It's like, oh man. It says, as if one spider wasn't bad enough, imagine being set upon by 1,000 of them in a giant web. While the overwhelming vast majority of spiders lead solitary lives, there do exist a small number of spider species which operate in colonies and which work together to catch and kill prey. Wow, I'd never even heard of this. One example is Anelosimus eximius, a South American species that can be found in colonies of up to 1,000 individuals, which work collectively to build huge webs measuring several meters across.
Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of territory.
Shelob.
In a recent study, scientists closely examined the behavior of these spiders and found that they were able to coordinate their attacks so that when a large animal strayed into their web, they were able to work effectively together to take it down. What do they mean, animal? The colony has no designated leader, and each spider instead coordinating its attack with the others, using the vibrations in the web to choreograph a synchronized swarming process. Oh, that's so creepy. Though the attack itself is vicious and calculated, and the spider's moving onto the prey and attacking it all at the same time to overwhelm it. Suffice it to say, inadvertently walking into one of their webs would be the stuff of nightmares.
No kidding. Wow.
That's horrible. I don't know how big these are. I mean, when they say large prey, are they talking like a mouse or a bird, or are we talking like a big cricket? What does that mean? I mean, it's South America, so there could be some huge insects.
Well, there are bird hunting spiders.
Yeah, but they're huge. They're like tarantulas.
True, but still.
The Goliath spiders or whatever,
And bats, they eat bats.
Yeah, I've seen those too. Yeah, that's that. I mean, that just seems so twisted because you kind of think about the order of things. It's like
think about the size of a spider that would have to take down a hammerhead bat.
I don't know how big a hammerhead bat is.
Oh, they're about this big.
Really?
Yeah.
There's spiders that eat those?
They're hammerhead bats' heads are like this big.
And they can get trapped by and eaten by a spider?
Well, could you imagine that?
No, I couldn't.
Well, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about thousands of these guys taking down a big guy. Ugh. I bet they do. I bet they can. Yeah.
Wow, that's just creepy as hell. Well, there you go, folks. This is the stuff of nightmares for sure. And it's absolutely disturbing, but I had to read it because I was like, what does this mean? Swarming spiders? What? So I was today old when I learned about it, and I could have been a lot older and been okay with that. That is just twisted. Next article in our news fest of fun here on the portal is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one is having to do with UFO kind of thing. And interesting story anyway. It is a Uruguayan Navy officer once claimed that he almost shot an alien.
That's like tossing horseshoes. Well, I almost made it. Oh my gosh.
That ain't no hand grenade. That don't count.
No Phil Schneider.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. An unnerving encounter with 3 mysterious entities occurred back in 1972 at a lighthouse on Isla de los Lobos, the island of the wolf. The incident, which occurred on October 28th of that year, began when 5 Navy personnel were stationed at a lighthouse to perform basic maintenance duties. At just after 10 p.m., one of the men, Corporal Fuentes, had decided to go and check the generators while the others remained in the living quarters, drinking and playing cards. He drew the short straw.
Go figure.
As he began walking towards the lighthouse, which was around 45 meters away, Fuentes spotted something on the building's terrace that he was unable to explain. Mom says hi.
Oh, hi, Mom.
And as he began walking towards the storehouse, He saw something on the building's terrace that he was unable to explain. Sorry. Concerned, he returned to his cabin to retrieve his pistol, but did not alert the other men. Upon returning to the lighthouse, he noticed that the mysterious object was made up of several lights and that these were illuminating what appeared to be 3 humanoid figures.
Wow.
Suddenly, all 3 of them were looking straight at him, prompting him to raise his pistol. However, an unexplained force compelled him not to shoot. Yeah.
All right.
He watched as the 3 entities re-entered the object and then ascended straight up while emitting a strange humming sound. Once it had reached a height of around 45 meters, it tilted, produced a bright fireball from underneath it, and zoomed off into the silence towards the southeast. To this day, no explanation for what he had experienced that night has ever been found. Yeah, it doesn't sound like they left a lot to work with, you know. They were there, then he saw them, and then they left. But why were they there? What would they be doing? Like, why do they have this tower making light? You know? I mean, was it a curiosity thing? Makes you wonder.
Well, you know, it makes you wonder what they think of us when we're trying to blow ourselves up on July 4th, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's probably curious, but I would think they would understand. Oh, look at those different colors and stuff. They've figured out how to color fire. Great.
They've gone from a world-ending pandemic to World War III in just 2 episodes.
There's that.
Android Purity says, I was playing tag in the woods when I was 10. Ran into a huge web. While getting the web off, I looked down, and right on my chest was a spider nearly the size of the palm of my hand.
Ooh.
I screamed and shook my shirt off. I screamed and took my shirt off, stopped, dropped, and rolled so damn fast. Yeah, I bet.
I'll bet. Yeah, that's creepy. I remember being young, and I went over to the neighbor's house. I was just running through the neighborhood. There wasn't a lot of people that lived near us because we lived very rurally, and there was just a small community of people. But there's this group of houses around the house that I grew up in. And I was walking, and he had a white German Shepherd that was tied out. His name was Sports. And I was just stopped by and petted him and stuff. And I happened to look down into he had like an ice cream pail with water in it. Right. And I looked into it, and there was no kidding, like a big spider about almost the size of my hand sitting there, looked like it had drowned. And so I was like, oh, what is that? So I reached my hand down in it, and that thing grabbed my hand and flew out of there and then ran away. And I was like, oh, my God. I'd never seen a spider that big before.
Airborne?
Yeah, exactly. I was reaching for my sword at that point. No, I was just freaked out because I'd never seen one that big, but I understand they're called, like, I think they call them wolf spiders, but that was an enormous one. That was like tarantula size.
Because wolf spiders are... You know, they get up to maybe just like between a quarter and a 50-cent piece.
Uh-huh.
They can get pretty big, but that's pretty big.
Yeah, that was plenty big. It was like nearly the diameter of the water bucket.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. So, but then again, I think there's anomalies in anything, right? Like there's giant people that are 8 plus.
No way.
8 feet, 8 feet tall.
No,
and that's of course a huge.
No,
that's a huge anomaly. But I think that nature just sometimes produces those, and this was certainly one of them. I don't think there's giant race of spiders in southeastern Minnesota. But that was just one of them.
Minnesota,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. They tend to be more tropical, usually. But yeah, very strange. I don't know. This guy saw these aliens at a lighthouse, nearly shot them, but was compelled not to. I imagine that was some kind of mind control, and then they took off. So we are jumping topics a little bit, but that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy, Don.
It's pretty nuts.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just felt it warranted a rim shot. Sorry. I just felt it needed that.
All right.
All right, let's get to the next news story on our newscast tonight. And this is another one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Discarded rocket has collided with the moon. Did you hear about that?
No, huh?
They thought that somebody thought that it was going to be a SpaceX rocket that had gotten loose and was heading towards the moon and was going to crash. But I think it came up that it was somebody else's. But let's see what it says. But anyway, apparently it finally did hit the moon. I'm not sure what that means, if anything at all. But it landed on the moon. The rocket is thought to have hit the moon's far side after being tracked over the course of several years.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's a long time ago. Space debris is fast becoming a major problem, prompting efforts in recent years to ensure that defunct rockets, spaceships, and satellites are either carefully deorbited or burned up on the planet's atmosphere rather than being left to endlessly clog up Earth's orbit.
They said spaceships.
Huh?
They said spaceships.
They said,
Not like shuttles. They didn't say space shuttles. They said spaceships.
oh, yeah, they
Ships.
did.
Very distinct language there.
Sure, but I imagine they could be like from earlier failed
Sure.
space programs.
But they're shuttles and rockets.
That's true.
We've never built a spaceship.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. Very interesting. But in this particular case, however, the space junk in question has instead ended up a little further afield. First spotted in 2015, the 3-ton object is thought to be either part of a Chinese space mission or an early SpaceX mission. As far as things stand, nobody actually knows for sure which it is. Well, I heard it was a Chinese one. At first they did think it could be a SpaceX rocket, but I think it was, as far as I know, it was correctly identified as a Chinese rocket from some of their programs. It is now thought to have struck the far side of the moon. However, this is yet to be officially confirmed. Yeah, because generally we don't see much over there.
Well, you can't. We never see the dark
That's
side.
my
of the
point.
moon, which
Yeah.
is not dark at all, by the way.
It's not dark at all.
not
Pink
dark.
Floyd told me that too.
Yeah.
If true, it will have left a small crater and likely just sit there on the surface indefinitely unless future space explorers make an effort to retrieve it.
It's kind of like that old movie where the old rocket punches into the. It's like
It's
like got this zit right here.
Yeah, the moon's got an eye closed with a rocket sticking out of it. Yeah, it's important to keep an eye on what's in orbit. Professor Hugh Lewis. Oh, I remember that band.
Huey Lewis.
Oh, yeah, he's gone on to be a professor.
Yeah, he's a professor now. Professor Huey Lewis.
Back in time. Hugh Lewis from the University of Southampton. It's a mess we've created. Objects that we think are safe can actually return to Earth unexpectedly. Oh, I did not know that. I thought what goes adrift in space just keeps drifting in space.
Well, it just depends on which way it's drifting in space, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I mean, you would think that, if a rocket's going up, and it gets out, just beyond the atmosphere and, and it's going away, the back end of the rocket's facing the Earth still, you would think that eventually it would come and hit the atmosphere and burn up. That's the hope. But apparently they don't. They just go astray. They just go astray.
Yep.
It's like, hey.
Yep.
Say the movie Wall-E.
They crash through all that junk.
Yeah, crash
going
through it.
Yeah.
Then they hit the ground and Wally's not done with his job yet. Like, jeez, Wally.
God, you've had hundreds of years, dude. Let's get busy.
700 years, Wally.
Yeah, you'd think he'd do it, but
Wally.
let's go to the next one.
Okay.
As much fun as that was been. This
Not as
next
much fun as spiders.
No, God, that's so creepy. I don't even want to think about that. It kind of churns my stomach a little bit. Attacking groups of spiders. Unexplained-mysteries.com brings us a man claims to have been cursed by a haunted painting. You know those paintings, Don, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
that
called Darian Gray.
There's the picture.
That's
That does look kind of
that-
creepy.
Yeah, that's probably actually a painting of Annabelle. Not Annabelle, but Yeah, Annabelle.
Yeah, Annabelle, and I don't know what the hell this would be, but
creepy as hell.
Yeah, baby fudge pants or something.
Oh gosh.
The man who bought the painting for just $50 from a flea market maintains that it has ruined his life. Dan Smith, who claims that, why would you buy that? I mean, really,
It looks like
if you
the baby
saw this, would you think, God, that looked good over my sofa?
It looks like a self-portrait. It's like the baby painted that picture.
I mean, could you find a place in your house that this would belong?
The fireplace?
The fireplace. There you go. Yeah, our backdrop for some craft work project.
Or some creepy YouTube show.
I can think of a few that might actually help raise the value of.
55 for.
He said Dan Smith claims that the former owner of the piece had warned him that it would bring him nothing but misfortune. Took the seemingly erroneous decision to buy it anyway. At a glance, the painting, which shows what appears to be a baby girl with her doll, seems innocuous enough, but according to Smith, it has caused no end of problems. Since bringing it home, he's reported experiencing what he describes as an epic losing streak, which has included an inability to sleep, insect infestation, in his house, and a loss of his pet.
Wow.
In addition, it left him feeling miserable, lonely, and anxious. He now is seeking to get rid of the thing by selling it to someone else on eBay. I don't know whose cursed blood was mixed in with the paint to create this piece, but its powers are strong, he wrote. I'm starting the auction at $50, which is what I paid for it. Boy, I don't know why people aren't leaping on that. But I'm hoping it goes for more to make up for everything I've been through. But before you bid, you've been warned. Why not destroy it? If you wonder, well, sure, setting the painting on fire could rid the world of the wickedness brought about by the piece. But it could just as easily unleash the evil. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that by burning it, I'm not just going to make things 10 times worse? Maybe for you. It might help somebody else, though. From buying this...
You know what he needs to do? He just needs to take and dismantle it and chop it all up into pieces and then bury it in different places, the four corners of the earth.
You put a lot of thought into this, haven't you?
Well, it just kind of popped right in my head.
I think it must be doused in the fires of Mount Modor. Should be hung right on the
It was so freaking hot today. 2 hobbits came up to my back fence and threw a ring over. So I threw this painting back at him.
Yeah, so I gave him some art. Oh no, that is just a horrible painting, though. I don't know what it wouldn't matter what the backstory is. I could never think, God, I got to have that. I should have that. No, never. That's just it's creepy anyway.
Yeah.
Just because it's a creepy painting.
It's like one of those bad tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah. That is. Yep. All right. Here's the next one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Concerns surround plans for the world's first octopus farm.
I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they're smarter than we are.
Yeah, they're going to band together. Yeah. A Spanish company has planned to set up such a venture within the next 2 years, but is it really a good idea? I'm kind of curious what the concerns are.
Yeah, no doubt.
The proposed farm, which has been spurred on by the growing. Jesus.
Proposed farm, which has been spurred on by the
growing global cephalopod trade, is being planned by Spanish aquaculture company Nueva Pescanova. And while the idea does have some merit, it has also been met with significant degree of criticism, not least due to the potential ecological, environmental, and ethical concerns of such a project. Octopus tend to prefer live prey, which would make feeding them problematic, and they also tend to become aggressive when kept in captivity, even going so far as to mutilate themselves. Oh, that's not a good idea then. They are also particularly good at escaping, which would make containing them a real challenge. On the ethical side, recent studies have indicated that octopuses could be quite intelligent and are capable of not only solving basic puzzles, but also feeling emotions.
Ooh, let's not project emotions onto animals.
As such, some countries have extended special protections to octopuses around the world. Even so, these tasty cephalopods, they go into tasty right after they've talking about the emotions, are very much in demand, with some 380,000 tons being traded each year, and that figure is likely to nearly double by 2025. Whether or not we should be farming octopuses or even eating them at all, however, remains a matter of debate. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. I mean, I like some calamari, don't get me wrong, but I don't tend to think about how smart they are when I'm chewing.
Well, you're talking... calamari is squid.
Oh, okay, then I'm okay, right?
Cousins.
All right. Well, that's good then. I guess I've never eaten octopus then, have I?
Oh, it's called pulpa down in Mexico.
Pulpa, have you eaten it?
Oh, it's so good on tacos.
I
I know. Don's the world eater. I know.
Putting Phil on a taco. The other ones are watching in horror.
Gregory, where are you going? Greg!
Hang on, Greg. No, that's kind of tragic. I mean, if they are actually an emotionally diverse, intelligent species, then I mean, that shouldn't be eaten. I don't know. It's one of those things, I guess. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. That's what I was saying. Neither of us said much of anything.
Phil on a taco. Maggie, you're awesome.
All right. The next...
That was taco filling.
Don likes his filling. Did you get enough? Yeah, I found it quite filling. You can go all night with this. All right. Here's another one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Hundreds report seeing V-shaped UFO over Ireland. That wasn't funny. That's not funny, Don. No, Don's still on the last story. He's not laughing at the UFO over Ireland.
I'm going to be stuck on Phil all night.
Fill me in.
What do you call an octopus in a hole?
This could really go on all night, couldn't it?
It could.
Sorry, folks. I'm so sorry. The mysterious object was spotted on the night of March 2nd by residents of the Sligo, Donegal, and Leitrim areas. In what can only be described as a mass UFO sighting, witnesses from several parts of the country's northwestern region reported seeing a silent V-shaped object with rows of lights on its underside. I was out having a cigarette on the back, and when I looked up, there it is, smoking.
Yep, smoking.
Yep. You ever want to find something paranormal, go out and have a cigarette.
Smoke.
It'll pop up. I was out having a cigarette on the back when I looked up and see a thing. Initially, I thought it was a flock of geese and realized very quickly it wasn't. Yeah, they don't tend to carry lights. Said singer Tabby Callaghan. I would describe it as an upside-down W, but except it looked like it was made of light, and it was much lower even than a domestic flight. It went over our house, which was very slow. It wasn't fast, and here's the creepy thing. It was totally silent as it went over the house. I was mind-blowing, to be honest. It was mind-blowing, to be honest with you. If it was military, it was very, very high-end. Like I say, it was huge, it was low, and it was silent. The same thing was observed by several other people as well. I saw a massive UFO over the house, and I know this sounds crazy, but my wife saw it too, said one Sligo resident. It looked like a stealth bomber, but it was kind of translucent. There were also reports from residents of Manor Hamilton and Bundoran, and all the sightings referenced a low-flying V-shaped object with bright lights. As things stand, however, no definitive explanation has been forthcoming.
It was just Billy Gibson from ZZ Top.
ZZ Top, yeah.
His flying V.
Yeah, like his guitar.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah, there's even James Hetfield played a V, didn't he?
That's true, yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't think it was a guitar, though. It sounds like it was a UFO. But it doesn't surprise me that the information hasn't been forthcoming because it's a UFO. That's what happens.
It's an UFO.
It's an UFO. All right, let's go to the next one. Lots of news I pulled up tonight. But it's okay. We have time to do whatever we want to do. It's Wednesday. It's hump day.
Hump day.
Hump day. All right, let's go to this one from unexplained-mysteries.com. Exploring the mystery of Scotland's Anthrax Island.
Ah,
That's kind of curious.
yeah.
This
I wonder if
says,
somebody's going to end up with the hoof and mouth.
what?
Anthrax. It's called hoof and mouth disease.
Oh, I've heard of foot and mouth. I didn't know it was the same thing, though. I did not know that. Yep.
Ooh, Sugar Britches has something for James Hetfield.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. A tiny island off the northwest of Scotland was once the site of a deadly germ warfare experiment. Eesh, that's already creepy. Situated approximately 1 kilometer offshore, Groinard Island is a tiny piece of land that would seem completely unassuming if it weren't for its rather disturbing past. Yeah, military testing always leaves a disturbing trait. In 1942, fearing that Nazi Germany was developing a biological weapon, Winston Churchill ordered a team of scientists to find a way to use anthrax, a deadly bacterial infection, as a potential weapon. In order to conduct such experiments, the team decided to use Groinard Island due to its remote location, which, in addition to containing the infection, also helped to keep the research a secret. Nobody in the surrounding area knew anything about what they were doing. However, many suspected that they were up to no good when farm animals kept dying under mysterious circumstances. Oh, no. Yeah, that's not good.
That's what happens.
That's what happens in all these cases. Yeah, once you start letting these genies out of the bottle, bad things go wrong.
Yeah, it took World War III to get rid of that other thing.
Yeah. The truth about the experiments conducted would remain a secret for another 50 years until declassified Ministry of Defense documents finally lifted the lid on the project. The files documented how, in one instance, 80 sheep were deliberately exposed to a cloud of anthrax. Yikes, that's horrid. This tiny moment, this puff of powder is releasing death, said author Cal Flynn. While the experiment was considered a success, the island remained contaminated long after the researchers had packed it up and returned to Porton Down. It wasn't until decades later that the island was finally cleaned up. Churchill's anthrax bomb was never used. Well, I don't know. I just think these kind of things are so ugly. And they always go sideways. It's not like anything ever just does what you want it to. It's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they wanted to see if it would kill 80 sheep, and it did. But did you really need to, wonder about that? I don't know.
They got grant money for it. They had to.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, if the government's going to pay you, might as well do what they want, right?
Well, I don't know.
You might as well say what they want you to say, right?
Absolutely. I guess so.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's creepy. I don't know. I don't like those stories. Those bug me bunches because, man, we already, even in the best of times, we screw stuff up, and it could be something as benign as like developing a new lotion, and suddenly you've got some kind of plague going.
Well, Rogaine,
What?
it was originally made for like a heart condition, and they found out that it actually grows hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like this topical heart condition stuff, and I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it. Grows hair. Something else was a heart medication that turned out to make things grow too. Yeah.
You mean like a vasodilator?
Yeah, apparently. Apparently it dilated all kinds of vasos.
That's just swell.
Oh, wow. I want to give you a rim shot, but I also want to hit the wah-wahs. All right, I'll leave it be. All right, unexplained-mysteries.com brings us the second to last story.
That's why.
And this is hundreds report seeing again.
Didn't you just read this?
I just did. I must have opened it twice.
Over
Ireland. Yep, we covered that. There it is. As things stand, no definitive answer for this article, too. Same article. It's just a joke. Gosh. It's the same one.
You're trying to pull one over on
I
us.
was trying to make it stretch, Don.
Stretch like Phil.
Oh, yeah.
On that heart medication.
Oh. All right. So I got more, though. I got one more thing that I want to.
Okay.
It's not actually from unexplained-mysteries.com. It's actually from another site. If I can find it here.
Oh.
Which one is it? I don't know. I don't remember. Let me see if I can find it. It's from the New York Post, of all places. And this is This is from the New York Post, and I don't know if any of you out there are familiar with a Japanese anime called Naruto. But essentially, it's this idea, these ninja colonies that have specific people are imbued with these monsters or demons that are encased within them because they were captured.
Oh, no.
And so one of which was a nine-tailed fox, and that was Naruto's. He was called a Jinchuriki, and so I was always like, well, it's a good. I mean, it was a decent show. I liked the anime. It was fun to watch and stuff, but I didn't realize it was actually based on an actual legend. Well, here you go, folks, from the New York Post, and this one's kind of weird. Is it just something that happened because in time these things happen, or is it actually a sign of the times? You be the judge. The New York Post, as of March 9th of 2022, ancient Japanese killing stone said to contain evil demon has cracked open. And here's the actual stone here. It's cracked, but it didn't used to look like that. It used to look like this. And so this was a site, a shrine, if you will, of where this 9-ton stone was holding the demon. And now it looks like this,
Well, now
meaning it's cracked.
Where's the marker? Well, that's also a video, so that might.
Yeah, this is a
Might
video.
have been walking around it. That's why you don't see the
Right.
the marker for it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's probably back further. You know, they're probably up here taking that picture
Probably, yeah.
or something to that nature. But anyway, it says, let's read the article. As if the world doesn't have enough problems, people are now worried that an evil demon locked in a rock for almost 1,000 years is on the loose. The so-called killing stone that kept the malevolent spirit imprisoned all this time has split in two, sending believers into a state of panic. Japanese legend has it that anyone who comes into contact with the rock will die. According to mythology, the volcanic rock, officially called Soshekoseki, is home to Tamono no Mae, a.k.a. the nine-tailed fox.
Aha.
The demon apparently took the form of a beautiful woman who was part of a plot to kill Emperor Toba, ruler of Japan from 1107 to 1123. Located in the mountainous region, northern region of Tochigi near Tokyo, the rock is something of a tourist hotspot, but now visitors are fearful. Some speculate that the evil spirit may have been resurrected to wreak havoc once more. The sealed stone before it split, there. This is what it looks like now. And you can see the ropey band down here on the ground after it broke away. I feel like I've seen something that shouldn't be seen, said one visitor on Twitter. Others have commented saying, here, I thought 2022 couldn't get any worse.
Yeah.
Now a furious Japanese spirit is freed from its killing stone. But another joke, my guess is the demon's going to look around at 2022 and want to go back into the rock for another millennium.
Please do.
Local reports suggest the rock actually started cracking a couple of years ago, so it just could be moisture that had expanded in the cold and caused it to break.
Even a chicken can't get out of an egg without it being actually broke open. It can crack. You can't get the chicken out until it actually opens. So.
Well, there you go. Well, it's thought rainwater might have gotten inside, causing the damage. Officials are now mulling over what to do with the rock's remains and could attempt to restore it. I don't think that's a good answer, though.
Don't touch it.
Don't. Just leave it alone. The legend continues. So, I don't know.
Put another rope band around it. Mark it as don't touch and let it go.
Just put on the top of the sign, former site of. Yeah, and then you're done. It's a new tourist draw. Yeah, that's creepy. So is it a sign of the times? Is it a symbolic gesture of all of the mayhem and craziness that's going on in the world? Could it have been done intentionally by someone?
Maggie.
What did she say?
She says, are they going to fix it with gold?
Oh, yeah. Isn't there? That's a Japanese thing, right?
Yeah, that's a Japanese thing. They get a piece of like a vase or something, some kind of ceramic that's broke. They use gold to put it back together. Yeah.
So they use gold to put it back together, and then a bunch of people break in and take the gold.
Steal the gold.
Yeah, keep releasing the spirit over and over.
Well, his teeth that they filled with gold.
So there you go. I don't know what to think about that, but it does seem like it's kind of odd that would happen now.
You know, it wouldn't have happened if Phil was there. He would have been in there, fill the cracks.
Oh, Phil McCracken.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I'm just going to let that die a slow, painful death, like much of the show. So, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is the Paranormal Portal news. Let's get back to it. Well, there you have it, Don.
There you have it.
The QB is released. That was another name from Naruto for the nine-tailed fox. I don't know. What do you think? Is it symbolic, do you think? Or is it just one of those things?
Yeah, I could believe like a genie in the bottle thing, and you know, eventually, you know, stuff happens, and you know, you just gotta, yeah, have fun, Japan.
Oh,
you know what?
yeah.
Why don't they send it to the suicide forest?
Oh, yeah, they should roll it in there. It should be fine.
There you go, yeah.
That's already creepy.
Get it, yeah, exactly. It couldn't get any worse, could it?
Oh, don't knock. No, you knock on some wood quick. All right. Just in case. Don't want to mess that up. Start challenging the universe, and sometimes it answers.
Sometimes it answers.
Yep.
Phil, is that you? Poor guy.
Poor Phil. Guy takes him on the chin all the time, doesn't he?
All 8 of them.
What? Digger Dog. Oh, Digger Dog says, sound like you two might be drug dealers showing crack. I didn't show the crack. I just showed you the broken rock. Somebody else cracked it. I don't know. It's strange stuff. And I'm kind of tongue in cheek with that, but it does kind of make you wonder. Like, of all times, now it broke.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know, what it could do you think it's like the frequencies, you know, they're so disturbed right now that, you know,
maybe
something, you know, just it, you know, there was this book called Cyclones, PSY, Cyclone, like psychic,
okay. Yeah.
you know, and it was written by Greg Bear like ages ago, and it was about the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and how all that psychic energy got balled up after it was released from everybody's body and balled up and floated across the world, causing
really?
this cyclone
of
stuff.
Wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so, but, you know, I mean, go back to the vibration, you know, is this the quiet, you know, is the storm beginning?
Right. I do know that there's, you know, of course, there's plenty of people saying, look, we're in the end times and this is the way things happen. I also hear, you know, the stories of, and this is something that I kind of believe. It's like, you know, we're kind of, maybe we're evolving. Maybe we're in the state where all this old stuff just doesn't fit anymore.
Right,
this is our evolution to
cleansing, releasing of the old energy to become new.
That's what I was going with it.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like, so did this, is this just a symbol of the old stuff that needs to be, you know, cast away in order for our, you know,
our next evolution?
Yeah.
Our next dimensional shift?
Right. And I don't really know what that means. Like some people, we're moving into the fourth dimension and stuff. I don't really know what that means because usually the fourth dimension is believed to be time, right?
Right. Well, they say the fifth dimension.
The fifth dimension.
Because we're already in the fourth dimension.
Right.
We live straddled between the two, I think, so.
Right, and that's where I was going with the next. And then other people say the fifth dimension. And I don't really know what that means either because, it's hard to conceptualize what that would be like to have a perception of a whole new dimension, unless that's just kind of the sight beyond sight. Is that where, you know, telepathy and things exist? Is that where some of this paranormal stuff exists? Right. You know, that may be the home to some of it. I don't know. But maybe it's symbolic of the evolution of us hopefully becoming something more than what we were. Mm-hmm. Because as broken as things are, man, it's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
It's getting freakier too. So let's get on to the next part of the show. And this is
Sweet.
Oh, I thought you said shoot. And I thought, did I miss something? Let's get to the next part of the show. And this is an article that I had pulled up for a while now. I don't even remember where I got it. I think it might have been a link that was shared with me. But this is from a site called Vintage News, thevintagenews.com. Mm. And I don't know that it's going to be in depth about it too much, but it's why the Navajo skinwalker is the most terrifying Native American legend. Now, this is from March 15th, 2020, by a gentleman by the name of Steve Pallas. And we're going to take a look at this after I blow it up to readable size, because this ain't it. There we go. Now I should be able to read it.
Much nicer.
It is. It's actually seeable now. But that I thought that was really
That's a great picture.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. In a really weird way, because of course the skinwalker represents something usually dark and negative and scary, and that does really look like a real skin.
Well, so, here's the thing, though. I mean, because people always talk. Now, I've always been in the understanding that skinwalkers are just people who can take different shapes.
Sure.
Coyotes, dogs, even horses. Mass is not an issue for them. And it is from wearing the skin of the animal. Like in this, that's a coyote, right?
Yeah, or wolf, one of the two.
Well, yeah. But, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing.
Right.
But then there's the I don't know how to explain it, but there is a bad skinwalker in from what I understand in the lore as well, who are evil people or evil beings of some type. So that's...
Well, there's, that's the interesting part, is that there's a shamanic tradition in a lot of First Nations of shape-shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a trait that's kind of spread all over as far as I know. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't equate to what we understand a skinwalker to be, like a negative thing. So you're right. Like there's a shamanic tradition of shape-shifting and just able to access the power of nature in that way. And then there's the skinwalkers, which are allegedly, at least in the Navajo traditions, they were these fearsome warriors that were really working alongside of the tribe in order to keep the Spanish out during their expansion across the U.S. And they fought, and helped to turn back their conquest across the nation. And so they were regarded as heroes until allegedly there came into a point where they decided that they wanted more power, and so they turned to darker methods of doing that and getting that, and that's what corrupted them and caused them to be cast out and shunned, or to have a falling out of that degree. So I don't know. I mean, but it is interesting. You're right. It's not unique to the skinwalker. The skin, or the ability to shapeshift, isn't unique to the skinwalker, but it does seem that this is born of something darker in their quest for power, perhaps. Again, I'm not First Nations lineage at all. I don't have any first-hand knowledge of these things other than what I've come across in doing the shows, but that's what I've ascertained so far. But let's see what this says. It says, what is a Navajo skinwalker? The name alone is enough to chill the bones. These shape-shifting witches are part of Native American culture. Different tribes have their own tales to tell. From the Navajo of Southwest America, skinwalkers are a powerful and destructive presence. The witches have the ability to transform into animals as well as possess other people and bring folk back from the dead with black magic. They wear the skins and sometimes skulls or antlers of their chosen creatures, which is where the name skinwalker comes from. The tribe doesn't talk about them openly, as it's thought skinwalkers hide among their number and exact vengeance on those who speak out. For the Navajo, living side by side with a fearsome enemy is accepted. Skinwalkers are just another part of their spirituality and one of the ways of their lives, according to the Legends of the America website. As such, witchcraft has long been a part of the culture, history, and traditions. See, I don't know if the term witchcraft is right, though.
I think they should be throwing the word shamanism in there.
Yep, or, whatever, magical traditions. But that, putting witchcraft in along with this dark practice I don't think is appropriate at all. Skinwalkers are very dangerous, but can be identified if the unwary know where to look. The Navajo term for them is Yinaldushi. With it, he goes on all fours, is what it means. With it, he goes on all fours. The majority are said to be male. Medicine men are key figures who turn into skinwalkers. The Navajo Legends site writes, those who have attained the highest level of priesthood in the tribe, but choose to use his or her own power for evil are candidates for the change. Rituals form an essential part of not only the Native American life, but the lives of skinwalkers. Ancient ceremonies are performed in caves with an elder positioned as leader of the group. Got a cough, hold on. They engage in dark practices referred to collectively as the witchery way. How do potential skinwalkers gain their powers? As might be expected, the details are grim. Family members are prime targets. To be initiated, the medicine man or warped woman must kill a sibling or someone in their close family. After inheriting the malevolent mantle, individuals can then display a range of physical abilities, though through the animals they become. Navajo legend mentions how they are typically seen in the form of a coyote, owl, fox, wolf, or crow, although they do have the ability to turn into any animal they choose. Transformations occur at night, and other creatures can be controlled by skinwalkers. Tribe members may fear being set upon in the darkness by an army of sharp-clawed servants. The nightmare doesn't end with the shape-shifting. They can take possession of another human through eye contact, eyes playing an important part of the skinwalker lore. The witch will have human eyes when transformed and animal eyes when in human form. Skinwalkers have been known to rummage round in graves, partly to steal whatever's inside, but also reportedly to extract a power from corpses. This is then used to poison people. A tribe member who falls sick may well wonder if they cross paths with a skinwalker. These witches live on the unexpired lives of their victims, writes Legends of America, and they must continually kill or perish themselves. Despite their formidable reputation, skinwalkers can be defeated. Those who do track a skinwalker and learn of their true identity must produce the name of the evil one in full, says Navajo Legends. Once this happens, the skinwalker will get sick or die for the wrongs they have inflicted against others. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's some people would say it's the rule the rule of three. Mm-hmm. There's also the fold seven, something like that. I can't remember.
Okay.
But anyhow, it's like the whole idea that if you pick a hair, it grows in thicker and this, that, and the other. And it's not necessarily true, but it's the rule of three. May come back to you 3 times as much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's like a karmic rule, yeah.
Karmic, yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's actually mentioned in the Bible as well, but whatever.
Okay. Stories aside, can anyone prove they've seen a skinwalker? Legends of America mentions that when they have been seen, they have been described as not quite human and not fully animal. In a Hulk-like twist, the witch has sometimes been spotted wearing tattered shirts or jeans. What about cast iron proof? The famous case of Skinwalker Ranch in Utah certainly resulted in some hair-raising accounts. Terry Sherman used to own the 512-acre property, but he and his family left after experiencing eerie phenomena, as reported in 1996. This included the likes of UFOs, lights emerging from circular doorways that seemed to appear in midair, according to the Las Vegas Sun, but also attacks on livestock. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's not all just UFOs, right? History.com describes the systematic and repeated mutilation of their cattle, in oddly surgical and bloodless manner. The owner also encountered mysterious large animals, most notably a wolf 3 times the size of a normal wolf, and Terry shot at close range multiple times with a rifle to seemingly no effect. Wow. That's kind of neat. There's a few videos. I'll put a link to this in the chat if any of you want to check out some of these links that are actually included in the narrative here. But they've done a hell of a job so far. The site was then purchased by Robert Bigelow, a millionaire with an interest in all things otherworldly. Bigelow's surveillance of the ranch was documented in 2005 book Hunt for the Skinwalker by biochemist Colm A. Kelleher and journalist George Knapp. The project, run by Bigelow's now defunct National Institute for Discovery Science, observed some seriously spooky events. One night, Kelleher reported seeing a large humanoid creature spying on the research team from a tree. After scaring it off, he found a footprint, a single, obviously oval track of about 6 inches in diameter, embedded deeply in the patch of snow. The book writes, and it adds the print had 2 sharp claws protruding from the rear of the mark, going a couple inches deeper. Kelleher thinks it almost looked like a bird of prey, maybe a raptor print, but huge, and from the depth of the print, from a very heavy creature. Commentators point to the area's general history of unusual sightings, which acts as both a positive and negative when assessing the story. Are these genuine cases of mass hysteria? Plus, the ranch is several hundred miles away from Navajo territory, casting further doubts on whether this is a skinwalker. Yeah, but I mean, other tribes have also legends. It doesn't mean it's only the Navajo.
Right.
Nothing conclusive was found, but extensive coverage helped embed the idea in the national consciousness. Perhaps inevitably, a horror movie followed, 2013's Skinwalker Ranch, on the small screen. Project Blue Book's second season features an episode titled Curse of the Skinwalker. And there's a related article about Geronimo, but for those... No, it's okay.
Sorry. For
those to whom the legends belong, adapting cultural history as entertainment is an insulting move. The native how do you say this? Appropriations, thanks. Website comments, we as indigenous people are constantly situated as fantasy creatures. But we're not magical creatures. We're contemporary people who are still here and still practice our spiritual traditions. The site is concerned about the constant commodification of our spiritual practices. The Navajo skinwalker is a way of life for some and a boogeyman for others, and either way, its history makes for a vivid and spine-tingling read. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've covered several stories. There aren't a lot of stories out there about these encounters, but they do happen. And some of the reports are absolutely terrifying. Like being in the bed of a truck and suddenly a coyote comes out and is running alongside, and then they go faster, and it's going like 40, 50, 60 miles an hour,
right,
still running, and then it kind of looks up and there's a head underneath winking at him or smiling. And it almost seems playful in some instances. But given the ramifications of what it could mean, obviously it's horrifying.
Yep. Jeffrey Dixon says, supposedly we've got dogmen here in Michigan.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the Michigan Dogman. That's one of the most famous
right,
mentions of it is the Michigan Dogman. And that's kind of where, I don't know if it's for sure, but I think that's kind of where the Dogman legend began. Yeah, I mean, it's from the 1800s, I believe, is the first sighting in Michigan. I think it was by a couple loggers over there, or lumberjacks of some sort.
Well, didn't we just talk about it like 3 weeks ago?
Maybe.
I think we did.
Time is a blur, Don. It's a blur to me.
Welcome to the portal.
Yep. Time is, relative to the length of my memory.
Unless you're talking about Euclidean time.
Euclidean space-time, yeah. The all-time is the now. That's true, yeah.
Rachel, try Skinwalker Ranch Valley dressing. It makes your salad come to life. Could you just imagine a little ware lettuce pop out of there? A little ware radish, radicchio, little spring mix.
I don't know what a radicchio is, but
it's good.
Is it? Okay.
It's good grilled too.
Oh, everything's good grilled.
Everything's good with smoke on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, there's reports of dogmen coming from everywhere. It's kind of very, very similar to the Bigfoot's stories of Bigfoot being all over.
Yep.
They're according to Vic Cundiff, he believes that possibly a lot of people claiming that Bigfoot experiences may in fact be experiencing dogmen, and I don't pretend to know, but I find that very interesting. If you don't see it,
right,
man, it could be anything. It could be a dogman, it could be a Bigfoot, it could be,
and it's all just a matter of perception too, because of the way we've always talked about these creatures, specifically Sasquatch and Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
They've always had the regional names that were just
sure.
Really honestly, they started becoming one with the Patterson Gimlin film,
Yeah,
and then people started seeing it and they're going, "That's a wood booger. That's a," so all this common language comes together in Bigfoot.
unifying term. Yep.
So it wouldn't surprise me that maybe it wasn't quite what you saw, but it's the closest thing you have to associate it to.
Sure. Yep.
So that, yeah, then you could be, like Vic said, some of these might be dogmen that they're seeing. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he seems to think that these are a much more active, dogmen are much more active, probably than Bigfoot, and they seem to be less concerned about us. Like,
yeah,
they don't seem to have any fear of humans.
Right.
In fact, it's almost like an absolute disregard. It's like, what are you doing up in my face?
Well, and then there's different people. There are people who believe that there are different kinds of dog soldiers, dog men, and wolf people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought of wolf people more of like a skinwalker, an average skinwalker. A person who can take the shape of a wolf people.
Sure.
But apparently that might not be quite right. But
yeah.
Are they dog soldiers? Are they dog men?
Yeah.
They, whatever that may be.
Sure. So, and to clear up what Don's saying, it's much less regarded or talked about, but there's some schools of thought that suggest that there's wolf people, which are a naturally occurring creature of some sort.
Right.
And then there's the experimental creatures like the dog soldiers, which have the enlarged heads and seemingly too small for the body or too big for the body, and are very ferocious and twisted, whereas the wolf people may very well be these peaceful creatures. So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, again, it's kind of like so many layers deeper than what we're ready for.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like the disclosure talks with all these great witnesses, and then Paul Hellyer coming up talking about how they're already living among us. And,
right.
Bringing that into that discussion was premature, I think. And so are there more than one? Yeah, maybe. Maybe there's more than one phenomena being, thrown under this one label, but again, it's all speculative.
Monagar Nash says, next time I go into the woods, I'm taking dog biscuits, just in case. Sit, Rover.
Just bring rolled newspaper.
Yeah, just, there you go.
Give him a good swat.
Bad dog.
Yep. Sit. Yep, that might work. Throw a stick. That'll do it. That'll do it. But anyway, I wanted to bring you that article because it's kind of
a cool article. Those are the good ones,
right? Because they're full of different angles. It's like the legend, the stories, and it's not a bunch of fluff and hyperbole. Right. It's just these are historical references. These are the positions of the First Nations that have brought these legends to our awareness.
Right.
And so I think it's great to have their take on it too, because oftentimes it gets disregarded, and I imagine it could be a bit of a slap in the face, just like
oh no,
what?
Elise Goff, Lord, I hope I never meet a dog man. I have such a love of animals, I might try to pet it with scratchy lovin's. That harkens back to the old episode.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God. Yeah, scratchy lovin's.
You just showed your age in the show, by the way.
Yeah, you just showed us. You just demonstrated how long you've been around. Scratchy lovin's goes way back. That's great. I haven't heard that. I haven't even thought of that term in a long time. But scratchy lovin's. Yeah.
Hi, Ruthie.
Hi, Ruthie. Very cool. But I put the link in the chat if any of you want to check out more of that article or some of the embedded videos that are in there too. There's some great artwork as well. I mean, they did a really nice job on that article. Those are a pleasure to read because you walk away learning something.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the vintage
or at least
news.
Questioning things more.
Right. Yeah. Coming at it with a more holistic, roundabout view.
Right.
I mean, no one article is going to teach you all about a phenomena, but this is cool because it approached it from a cultural perspective.
Right. And that would be like saying we're experts.
I don't know what I'm an expert of, but that's a good article. I hope you guys like that. I was plenty happy with it. Okay, so now I want to get to something that Wes had brought to the show. He wanted me to bring it up on last Friday night, and we couldn't because I didn't have the ability to air it during the show, but I've got it now, and this is two videos that were sent to him, and it is really curious. What is it? Well, let's let you guys decide. I'll tell you my 2 cents at the end of it, but I think it's plenty creepy. But this is from Sasquatch Chronicles blog as of February 27th. What is this? Question mark. A listener sent this to me in 2 clips. I've combined both clips with a small black screen between the two. Check it out and tell me what you think. The witness writes, this was caught on a surveillance camera at a resort in eastern Kentucky. Do you know what the hell this is? Or have you seen such a thing? All right, let's check it out. I'm going to do it in
What
big...
is that? Is that something right there? Is that Gollum?
That's what we're going to be looking at.
That's what we're going to be looking at, okay.
That's what we're going to be looking at.
Hit it.
So let's click this, and we'll blow it up.
Huh.
There's the second one. More cars around this time.
So why does it just start with the thing right in the middle of the screen?
I don't know. That's just the way.
Why don't you see it coming out of the forest or from behind a car? You know.
Maybe there's a much longer clip. That is the impetus of this, or maybe that was the motion where it triggered the camera.
That's a long far away.
It is, but it's not a very big thing. I mean, when standing next to the tire there, it's really not.
It seems human size.
Maybe short human. Yeah. Let's look at it again.
No, I say it's human size. I say it's 5.5, 6 foot.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. It does seem to have a really long head, like from the chin to the... We'll look at frames in just a second.
Yeah, it does. It does look like it's got an elongated head.
Yeah, and like a really long neck, too.
Yeah. What's a long neck?
It's creepy as hell, though.
Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me of what was outside of that guy's screened-in porch.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of moving in the same fashion.
Scary.
Right. And I don't know what the hell is it doing? What does it want? You just don't know, and that's the weird thing about these creatures. We just don't know. Like, if it is legitimate, and there's anybody's guess. I mean, it could just be a hoax, right? Like that's not beyond the possible reason.
No, definitely not.
But I want to close this, and I want to go through.
Natalie UK says that's how I walk when I'm going home from the pub.
That'll do it.
Be lucky if I'm walking out the pub.
Yeah. So here I am going frame by frame here. I want to just look at some of this because there's one point, and it could be a distortion of just the color on a night vision camera, so it might be a little misleading. But this is what I wanted to look at was when we get
See
about.
if there's any gaps in there.
So this is kind of it. So this looks like the back of the shoulder and the back.
Right.
And then this is the part that kind of shoots up as the head.
Right.
So it looks like it has kind of a tall oval shape to it. Almost like an elongated skull of some kind. Let's continue and see if we can get a better frame.
And this was down in Kentucky. Did you see the orb go by?
Well, I saw something go by. Oh, you're just being smart aleck.
Yes.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, the bug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the bug. The bug orb. Oh, it just disappears behind here. And I was like, where did it go? Must have fell out of the light. But I want to see if we can get a better lineup of what that head looks like. Because that's the part that seems the most bizarre to me. Like proportion-wise, it's crouched down. It looks lanky. The legs are weird and gangly kind of, but it's not beyond the human dimensions. But now that side, the head doesn't look all that extraordinarily long, does it?
No.
It must have been the way the pixels were just firing on the sensor, but that does look like a pretty significant neck. You know, like maybe not abnormally large, but definitely on the longer side for a human. And that is kind of weird. Like it's, it kind of has like a snail thing cooking.
Jeez.
That does look long though, doesn't it? So like if this is the chin line, and this is the top of the head, and it's very narrow. It's not really rounded. It doesn't seem to have...
Cynocephaly.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Let's see. Is it a dog? Dog-headed soldier?
Rachel says, some interdimensional being partly phased into our world, lost and far from home. Is it Spider-Man? Far from home?
But I'm just going frame by frame here.
He looks sad. He looks drunk.
He looks confused, though. He does. I mean,
That's true.
He looks like he's creeping up on stuff. Now, this is from a campground, right? A resort or something?
Yeah.
A resort, I guess
I don't know, but what's that doorway behind it? Where's
That's what I was wondering. Is that like a storage thing, or is it it looks like just a door, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I was thinking maybe it was like, the end of a shipping container.
Right.
But there's no shipping container
Right.
backing it up.
Yeah, it's like
So
just this.
it's like, what is that? Is it a portal?
It's a
You
portal.
open the door and you
Back
zap,
to its
you're in Wonderland.
Home dimension. Yeah, I don't know. It does really move very similar to a video that we watched on the show years ago. And it's a video that a guy took using his iPad, leaning it up.
Yeah.
And he's hiding back in the distance. And this thing walks in the very same manner, creeping up to his porch closer and closer. So that's the end of the first clip. Now in this one, there's obviously a lot more going on here, but it's back. I don't know. I mean, it could very well be. I'm curious. What are you guys thinking when you're seeing this? What do you guys? Can I blow it up bigger? This is as big as I can get it. This is absolutely full screen. So,
we're not thinker thunker for gosh sakes. I mean, gosh, come on.
Big fan.
That guy could do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he sure can. But yeah, he's got lots of digital editing in his past and the tools to do it. It's just, I don't know. It does seem to have big shoulders. The arms look kind of spindly. The legs look kind of spindly. Mm-hmm. But that's consistent with what I understand the rake or ghoul to look like. It does really seem to have kind of a misshapen head, though.
Ghoul. Yeah, and I agree with you on the rake, the ghoul connection. Yeah. But and if it is a ghoul, and if it's a traditional ghoul, then it's a human to begin with. Yeah. Because it's basically a undead. So whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to know, but whatever it is, it's creepy.
Does it have clothes? I don't know.
Doesn't look like it.
It's a streaker.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be in like leotards or something.
He didn't drink his Windex today.
Yeah. Ugh. But it's just a very strange little clips, and they're really out of context, and it doesn't sound like Wes got all that much context either. But it is curious. I mean, these kind of things are creepy.
Call him. Process stupid fat habits.
Hey! Don't go there.
Taters? What's taters, Precious?
Put a mash him, stick him in a stew.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very creepy. Whatever it is, I don't know. It could be absolutely nothing. Could be a hoaxy kind of thing. Somebody looking for their moment.
Yeah, they want the campground. They want business on the campground.
Yeah,
that's the wrong way to get it.
Yeah, not these.
This is the wrong way to do it.
Put a Bigfoot in it, you'll fill the place. Put this in there,
nobody will ever come back.
Closed for business.
like Bloom Lake up here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is. I don't know. There's it's obviously very low resolution.
Oh, that's interesting.
What?
Menegard says, my first thought was a confused UFO return E.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Looks like he's been through some electrolysis. It's all one color, like there's not a hair on it.
It's like they it's like came back albino with alopecia.
Got my Brazilian.
Oh, Jesus.
Whatever it is, I don't know. It's creepy, but I'm curious what you guys think.
And I will name him Phil.
Oh, Jesus. You and Phil. So there you go, folks. I wanted to showcase that, and special thanks to Wes Germer.
Ghost Magnet says, could it be a spider in front of the camera?
No, I don't think this qualifies as just a bug on the lens kind of thing.
Yeah, it's too wide of a lens.
Yeah, this is definitely something. It's in that space. It's in the space that we're perceiving it. But again, it's ambiguous as hell because there's absolutely no detail other than a basic outline to work with. Like there's no features observable other than the dimensions of its body in a very, very limited regard. I wanted to see where it was when it was by the tire. I wanted to see. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, it's 5.5 feet probably, ish.
Yeah.
It's plenty within the range of normal human. Is it hoaxable? Sure. Is anything demonstrated here that couldn't be hoaxed? Absolutely not. Everything you're seeing could be hoaxed and put on by somebody. So I don't know. Basically, you got to trust the merit of the person that sent it in. Are they being genuine that this is something weird and want to help with?
Right.
Or are they just, trying to pull one over on everybody? And again, it's hard to know. We can't know. But there you go, folks. Special thanks to Sasquatch Chronicles for letting us showcase that here on the show. I think if it is legitimate, it does sound like one of those rake ghouls or white crawlers or whatever they call them. There's some other name like that, like a white crawler, that gets thrown around quite a bit. And a lot of you that if you're new to the show, you may go, well, that's just a creepypasta story. Well,
so is gosh,
I don't know where are you going.
The big guy,
Slender Man.
Yeah,
and that really is, but
that's Tulpa. It's all Tulpa.
It may be. But the thing is that even though rake is a new term, there is the old phenomena of ghouls.
Yep.
That is as old as our civilizations, nearly, that these creepy things would prey on the bodies of the deceased. They'd be found in digging up graves and feasting on the corpses.
Right.
And this is basically what they would have looked like, something like this. So is rake just a new name identifying a very old phenomena?
I think so.
I do too. I really do. And so to dismiss it just because it appeared on creepypasta or whatever on Reddit
is a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, it's the cheap solution.
Well, here's something you can correlate it to. So a lot of fiction, that deal with, well, take horror movies, for instance. Just because something's seen in a horror movie doesn't mean it's not spiritually feasible.
Right.
Right. You watch The Conjuring, you see the Annabelle doll, imbued with the evil spirit. These are not things that are beyond comprehension.
Sure.
They're just not. So how can you say that just because it showed up in creepypasta that it couldn't be real to begin with?
Right.
There's got to be truth to all of our myths and legends, right?
Yeah, there's some foundation.
Some truth.
Yep.
So, you have to accept that as a truism.
Yeah.
So
I think you can't just dismiss those things because of a convenient explanation.
And especially because it came from Wes's site,
Absolutely.
You can't deny that.
Absolutely. That's full merit right there.
Yeah. Got the stamp of approval.
Yeah, it's got the Germer stamp for sure.
Yeah, Rachel says at least it's not surrounded by the infamous red circle.
Yeah, Wes doesn't use the red circles. Thank you, Wes. I hate those things. I mean, there's sometimes when they come in helpful. It's like if you're going to...
There's only one thing worse than the red circle.
What?
The blinking arrow. That's the only thing worse.
Well,
look here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a scene with a lot going on, it can be hard to figure out, okay, where's the anomaly? So sometimes those circles quickly, just to tell you where to look, are fine. But when they just fill the whole screen for the whole video.
Oh, Maggie.
What?
What's a ghoul's favorite sauce? Gravy. Oh my.
That's clever. I like that one actually. That's clever.
Yeah.
Gravy.
Yeah. Country gravy.
That's awesome. Gravy.
Oh man, we were some sick, twisted people.
Well, we're a bunch of weirdos. That's why we're all weirdos. We are the Paranormal Portal weirdos, folks. So that's that article. I do have some more from Sasquatch Chronicles to get into, but let me see where we're at with time because it's all about time. All right. I want to get into.
Is it about time?
No, it's about 8:25.
Oh, okay.
We've cruised through the night quick though. Jeez. This one is another one from Sasquatch Chronicles. Again, thanks Wes for letting us use some of this.
You got a rim shot. Enjoy
it. Absolutely. From Sasquatch Chronicles blog as of March 3rd.
Just call me Phil Hooper.
Oh. You earned that one. That's all you, brother. You've been working hard. You finally earned it. All right. From March 3rd, Strange Day Hunting. It says, a listener writes, I was hunting solo modern deer. What? Better than primitive deer? What's going on?
Okay.
I was solo hunting modern deer. Okay. That must be a term that means something to hunters. I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't know what an old-fashioned deer looks like.
Yes. Anyway, and was hunting behind Alder Lake in Washington. I was on a trail that leads from Pleasant Valley Road to Gifford National Forest. It was a clear morning around 4:30 a.m., no wind either. I had my headlamp on and started to flicker, so I stopped and grabbed my other one from my pack. That was pack, except I ran out of air. Both had fresh batteries put in the night before. That headlamp was working fine for a couple of minutes, and then the same thing happened. Started flickering. I was using the ONX app. I knew where I was, about 3/4 of a mile from the car/trailhead, and out of nowhere, a tree crashed down. No wind, no rain. I stopped and listened and heard a rustle after the crash. I don't know if it was just my brain or something else, but a screaming voice in my head kept repeating, "Get out." I grabbed my sidearm and immediately turned around and took off all the time the voice was saying, "Get out," and also "leave food."
Settle down, Yogi Bear.
That's the Sasquatch is going, "Get out, leave food. Leave food.
Foot long. Foot long.
I don't know what was going on. But let me get to the article here. I don't know what was going on. Where the hell was I? I don't know what was going on, but I left and continued to hunt that day, but about 20 miles away. I came back that way through LB while there was still a light, and noticed that where I was at had been clear cut except for a stand of trees where the event occurred. Weird stuff, man. A few years earlier, my buddy and I were hunting a GMU, I don't know what that means, called Storm King, not far away where this happened, and found barefoot tracks in a creek bed heading into an old growth forest. I never saw anything, but my gut knows that there's something out there, and I won't go out solo again. So that's interesting. Here's the thing. I've often thought Sasquatch can kind of trigger that, and I think it's very intentional, like a telepathic thing where they can trigger the fear response in us. I think it's just one of their abilities, and it's kind of interesting because they got that get out of here now, run, leave. But he also got leave food, which I think is brilliant because there's a Sasquatch in the bush going, get out, wait, leave me, I'm hungry, leave me something, candy bar, whatever, come on. It's like some Squatch out there just focusing on, no, I'm a little hungry, why don't you leave me a snack?
Well, that's like Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
She was talking about her Bigfoot encounter, and she was tracking this Bigfoot through telepathic images.
Yep. And
they weren't talking.
Right.
He was sending images. The Bigfoot was sending images of his hurt foot, of being in pain
and scared.
His general area, and what he saw on his way to where he was. So yeah, absolutely. That's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Rachel says, she's going back to the whole what's a ghoul's favorite sauce, gravy.
Yeah.
Rachel says they also love tombstone pizza.
Jeez.
And apparently modern deer is a deer with a cell phone. So there you have it.
All right. See, is it any wonder people love this show? We have so much humor here.
Oh, okay. A GMU is a game management unit referencing a hunting map.
Oh, very cool. See, I love you guys. You guys fill in so many blanks. I don't know this stuff. That's awesome. Thank you for that input and for helping me to understand.
He says, "Leave yummy for my tummy."
Leave sweeties. Leave candy bars. Yeah. Trick or treat. I've seen that work before. Trick or treat. Why do I keep thinking about trick or treat?
It's the ghost of Estee Lauder. Saturday the 14th.
Yeah, nothing.
Had Bagley Jr. in it.
No, nothing.
It came out in like 1985.
Yeah, got nothing. I got nothing.
Goodness.
Oh,
gosh.
Nothing.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm sure it was funny in your head. That's where most of my jokes died on.
Yeah, well,
in my head.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. Oh, that's so funny. Let's go to the next one from Sasquatch Chronicles. And this is from March 3rd, and it's huge gorilla thing watching us. A listener writes, I've had 2 major encounters here in California. One was in 2015 in the city of Big Bear, California.
Huh.
We, meaning me and my wife and 2 boys and another family, went camping and rented a cabin for Easter weekend. Thursday we got there and we noticed the backyard was the woods and the nature, but noticed that all the trees and branches were knocked down and shaped in X's. Row. So we thought nothing about it at the time, thinking maybe that people that knocked down the trees did it to maybe mark the zone or whatever. So that night we decided to go in the jacuzzi and remind you, this was at night and we had a couple of beers and we felt the most terrifying feeling of being stalked. It says it should have been an L in there, but so we got out and we got out there was the big howl that started with a low pitch to a high pitch. So we went inside, got dried up and started playing Monopoly. How do you go right from that? Like this horrible howl.
Apparently it wasn't disturbing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you go right to Monopoly at that? Is that just...
Actually, I'd go to Clue personally.
I'd go to like the gun cabinet and start loading around.
I'd go to the restroom and change my undies.
Yeah, exactly. So they went right to Monopoly. That's pretty determined campers there.
Yeah, no doubt. We're gonna have a good time. Dang it!
At 2 or 3 in the morning, we were terrified to hear rocks and objects being thrown at our cabin, with most terrifying growling noise coming from the woods.
Oh, yes.
When I mean rocks, I mean boulders about 40 to 50 pounds.
Wow.
Rocks around the house, and seeing some being thrown and then rolling to hit the deck where the jacuzzi is. So we just went in thinking that it was just some kids or teens messing with us.
Yeah,
but
throwing 40 to 50
yeah,
pound
they
rocks.
always do, those damn kids.
God damn it.
But while we continued to play, we all got this eerie feeling of being watched through the window. So we went to bed without any further incident. Hi.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
He's a talker. He's a talker. Hi, buddy. The cat's visiting, sorry. The next day in the morning, I told my friend, let's go outside and chill. So we did, and we were awed by the amount of rocks around the cabin and more sticks being placed, almost like a signal or a warning sign to tell others not to pass that line, like a line of fire for them. So me and my buddy continued outside when out of nowhere we heard some tree branches being broken. And when we looked at the direction, there was this huge gorilla, like 7 to 9 feet tall thing, watching us from behind the tree, like it was playing peekaboo with us. And about 30 yards away, there was another one doing the same. Now, they are still breaking branches, and now they started to make this creepy laughing noise at us like they knew we were being scared. And they were getting louder and louder. So we went in and we told each other, let's not tell the girls, meaning our wives, what's going on, or they will freak out. At that time, I remember going up to my reservation in, how do you say this? Assiniboine Sioux in Poplar, Montana, and hearing the elders during a powwow talk about the big bears and the big giants and how they just want to be left alone.
I bet they do.
Yeah, referring to the Bigfoot. How our ancestors lived with them, and they would just ignore them, and they would leave us humans alone, and our people would leave offerings to say, hey, we come in peace to these creatures to leave us alone. So I told my buddy this, and he said, great idea. So that night we left it about 3 or 4 papayas in the woods, and the next morning it was gone, and no noise, no nothing. So finally, Sunday came and we left, and I said to myself, I will never go to Big Bear Mountain again. That's interesting.
Big Bear Mountain is actually, that's in California, yeah. So it's, Big Bear Mountain is a very popular ski resort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
And this is in 2015, so it's not that long ago.
No, not at all.
Huh, is that pretty rugged up there, like pretty forested? Must be, right?
I don't know. I've never been there. I just know
Right.
that it's there. You know, I know that because when they don't get snow down there, they come up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was just holding that guy.
Will you? Oh, cool.
He was
Yeah,
just up here.
he loves to be loved. He's a little aloof, but then he's just like, snuggle now. Now is snuggle time. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm done.
So another great article from Wes's blog. Thank you, Wes. And we got one more in the collection here. And this one is from March 3rd. I saw the figure of a person standing there. Again, another Sasquatch.
Big Bear. Big Bear Mountain, home of gorilla.
There we go. Good cough. A listener writes, "Hi, Wes. I don't know if this is worth mentioning or not because it was brief, but I still remember it as clear as day. This happened in 2017 in the spring. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon in late April. I was living in southern Illinois and was driving home from Marion, Illinois, when this occurred. I was not too far outside of Harrisburg, Illinois, and was driving on Highway 13 East. I noticed up ahead of me on the side of the road there was a fence line, and there was a deer pressed right up against the fence. The deer was facing away from the road and looking into the woods at something. I thought it was odd that it was looking away from the road, so I was looking at it the whole time until I passed it. And when I got to just about where the deer was, I was looking into the woods in the same direction as the deer, and as I started to turn my head back towards the road, I saw the figure of a person standing between the trees. It shocked me and caused me to hit the brakes, as my initial reaction was to get another look. I quickly realized how dangerous hitting my brakes was because I was on the split 4-lane highway with traffic behind me. Time for a drink, hold on. Not wanting to cause a wreck, I continued driving, but my speed was reduced considerably as I quickly tried to decide if I should go back for another look, since I would have had to find a break in the median to turn around. I decided whatever I saw would most likely be gone by the time I got back. The figure that I saw was all black and had the shape of a person. It was standing in the trees on an area where the trees were really close together. I call it a thicket, but I'm not sure if that's actually what you would call it. It's a patch of woods where the trees are close together, but since it was spring, the leaves weren't grown in all the way, which allowed you to see back into the trees pretty clearly. I'm not good at guessing distances, so I'm not sure how far away from the road this figure was, but it was far enough away that the figure had to be much bigger than a normal-sized person for me to have seen it at that distance. I didn't see any features other than it was all black. It was just standing between the trees looking towards the deer. I immediately messaged the guy I was dating, and I said, I think I just saw Bigfoot. I was half joking, but the more I thought about it, the more I knew I hadn't seen a regular person. It wasn't deer season, so it doesn't make sense that a person would be pursuing a deer in the woods, and especially in an area so close to the road. I have a friend who is a Bigfoot investigator based out of southern Illinois, and I told him about what I had seen. Oh, you got him, good. And he told me that the area where it happened was actually an area where some previous sightings had been reported back in the 70s. He actually lives not too far away from the area where this happened, and he's had sightings of his own. Due to the briefness of the sighting, I can't say 100% that what I saw was a Bigfoot, but based on the size, for the distance, and the fact that it was all black, I think it's a high likelihood, especially since there had been sightings in that area before. So that was my experience. I just thought I would share it since you don't get all that many sightings in Illinois, and although there are some.
That's true. I don't recall hearing a whole bunch of stories from Illinois.
No, not a bunch.
Not of that. You know.
No, you're right. It's
Illinois is right up there by Ohio, so it's
Yeah.
like a Ohio kind
Indiana,
of stuff.
there's Illinois, Indiana, and then Ohio. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously they're there, but they seem to be everywhere. But that is a chance sighting that you just see this deer pressed up and not even caring about the road.
Yeah, it's like backed into the fence.
Yeah, it was like pressed
way.
up against, like, oh,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, that's got to be a bad position for a deer to be in. That's awesome. I think it'd be fascinating. I guess if I was to see one, that's how I'd like to see one too.
Oh, you're a cat.
Yep, he's
Knocking
a cat.
stuff over.
What you doing, little man? Oh, time to go play. He had enough of loving. Enough scratchy lovins, Don.
Yep, enough scratchy lovins. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Just going to go over there and yell some more.
'Cause-
He's a pretty vocal little guy. But yeah, that's a good article. I like that one. Okay, there's that map again. Now, I wanted to get to a couple from Phantoms and Monsters. And we're at 8:42. This will be about perfect. Should be about perfect, folks. Hope you're enjoying this Paranormal Portal Fun Fest on Wednesday. As always, we do live shows Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday right here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, if you want to check it out. And be sure to check out our regular podcast, by the way.
The actual podcast.
The actual podcast. This isn't it.
We talked to Lyle Blackburn this last week, huh?
Yeah, it was a great talk. Lyle's a real fun guy.
Yeah.
We just had a bunch of talk about his cryptozoological research, his work, his journey, and his hot sauce.
And he's hot sauce.
You got to check out Lyle's hot sauce. It's
hot sauce?
I've never tried it, and I'd like to procure some for you, Don, because you like some hot sauce.
I do. Yeah.
But yeah, you can check it out. It's lyleblackburn.com.
I call it salt. I call it salt. Some people call it gross.
What?
Well, people go, well, how can you put that stuff on your food? Well, do you put salt on your food? Well, this is my salt.
Oh, okay.
That's the way that goes.
I see. All right. Well, it works for you.
There
got
you
one
go,
of those,
yeah.
You got one of those pallets that can handle that
Yeah.
fuel. But
Asbestos tongue,
yeah, I remember. I've seen you eating molten things before. That would make me cry and curl up into the fetal position.
You know what? That's interesting. Rachel says, is it Siamese? They're yappy. And you know what? He does have kind of blue cross eyes, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely part Siamese.
Yeah.
But he's like part tiger striped as well. So he's got like these. He's got that definite Siamese body with that, with his fluffy hair. That's very Siamese.
Sauce with chilies. Yes, bird peppers.
We're going food. We're going Food Network again. Doesn't take long.
It's food porn.
Usually every episode we end up hitting the food sometime. Because we're a couple fat guys, dude.
Well, yeah. Deny the obvious. Deny the obvious. Just deny it.
I got a talent for stating the obvious, Don. All right, let's go to a couple of excerpts from phantomsandmonsters.com. Again, this is our good friend Lon Strickler's site, and you definitely should check it out as well as Sasquatch Chronicles, because Sasquatch Chronicles is just a fascinating site full of not only the shows and stuff that Wes does, but also many blog entries like the ones we just read here.
Yeah, because the ones you can't get shows into, into
Right.
new shows.
Not every experience is long enough to do a show, but they are still worth checking out.
Right.
And you'll find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of excerpts just like that over there. So check out SasquatchChronicles.com, because if you're a listener of the show, you're only getting half the picture.
Right.
The other half is on his website, and certainly you can become a member and get members episodes as well.
Kind of like us, you're only getting, if you're only watching this, you're only getting half of it.
Yep.
You got to go listen to the podcast.
Yep, the podcast for the Paranormal Portal is out there as well.
That's right.
And the same for Phantoms and Monsters. Of course, you can get involved in what Lon's doing. He's got a great repository for sightings and experiences, as well as some research efforts that they do as a collective. He and some professional acquaintances of his have investigations going on across the nation into some of this stuff. So really fascinating stuff. And you can also check out his podcast on Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Oh,
Thanks, Maggie.
thank you, Maggie. Thank you.
It's $1.99 for my special sauce. Gravy on a
Don wants some
tombstone
gravy because he's a
pizza.
ghoul.
Oh, boy.
All right, so let's get to this. The first article from Phantoms and Monsters, of the two we're going to read, is The Legend of Stovepipe, Rice's Landing, Greene County, Pennsylvania. Now, we talk about Ohio a bunch on this show,
Yeah.
and Ohio really does have a phenomenal amount of weirdness going on there. They've got everything from cryptids, they got Dogman, they got Bigfoot, they got other weird cryptid-y creatures. They've also got a whole bunch of UFO.
Yep.
And they've got a lot of hauntings and stuff going on there. So
Apparently they have don't they have some Mothman kind of stuff going on too?
I don't know about, well, there may be some, but most of that is over in Illinois, to my understanding. But maybe they do. I don't know. It's very possible, because Mothman seems to be a much more broad
Right. True. Yeah.
experience as well. I when I initially started learning about this stuff, it was like Point Pleasant, that's Mothman. Just like Bluff Creek was Bigfoot. But
Right.
once you start digging in and you realize, wait, it's everywhere. This stuff is all over.
It's like a bad rash, man.
Yeah, it spreads like a bad rash. But this is Pennsylvania is also another hot spot for a lot of weird stuff, and that's where Tony Merkel is, and that might explain it. We love Tony, and of course, Tony is the creator and host of the Confessionals podcast.
And we
as
had
well.
him on a month ago on the podcast.
Yeah, he was on the podcast a month ago. We had a good talk with him. Great time, and I was on his Christmas show as well. I appeared on there when he did a whole collection of guests came onto there. It was a lot of fun. So, The Legend of Stovepipe, Rice's Landing, Greene County, Pennsylvania. Lots there. They also have a really famous albino Sasquatch stories over in Pennsylvania. A lot of sightings. So, the author describes several versions of a local ghost tale that began in a hollow near Pumpkin Run Park in Greene County, Pennsylvania. The Legend of Stovepipe. By James West. I grew up in Rice's Landing, Pennsylvania. As a young boy, I heard many tales of local hauntings, murders, and mysteries. Although Greene County has a wealth of paranormal activity and brutal battles, there was one that stands out to me, and that was the Legend of Stovepipe. There are multiple variations of the story, as that is a common occurrence with any local legend for any region. As I grew and started roaming the countryside, I began to explore the forests and surrounding areas, namely Pumpkin Run Park. I can remember going into the large park and traveling as far back into it as you can before dead ending. In the woods at the rear of the park. Running in the virtual end of the park did not discourage me, though, and I would continue into the forest, and after walking for what seemed like miles, I would come out on top or bottom, depending on the route taken, of Horseshoe Bend Hill. From the bottom side, there's an old, beat-up, rusted-out car, probably from the 50s, laying at the bottom of the hollow. This is where one legend of the infamous Stovepipe begins. Variations of the Legend of Stovepipe number 1, Vehicle Accident. In one of these modern versions, a boy was riding his bike along Rice's Landing Road. As he raced down the hill trying to make it home before his curfew, he neared Horseshoe Bend. A car, without any of its lights turned on, appeared, and the boy was either pushed or thrown off the road and rolled down the incredibly steep hill. He rolled and tumbled, and as he neared the bottom of the hollow, landed on an old piece of stovepipe and was instantly decapitated.
Oh, wow.
Aww. Now, it is said that if you go to the top of Pumpkin Run Hollow, Horseshoe Bend, at midnight on any rainy night and yell his name down the hollow, Stovepipe, 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 it is said that he will appear in the area near you and proceed to come after you and to take your head to replace the one he lost.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, don't yell Stovepipe.
Yeah.
I would say, Stove Pete. I didn't say it.
Oh, boy.
Stove Phil.
So,
I personally have never tried this at midnight on a rainy night, though many have done so at the bottom of the hollow by the rusted out car. Nothing happened, but I didn't carry it out, as the legend states. Who is brave enough to come with me during a rainy midnight and call the name into the hollow to see what happens? Nope, I don't do that.
nope. Homie, don't play that.
This then leads us to part 2, the next part of our tale. The variation of the Legend of Stovepipe number 2, the horse and buggy accident, or the train tunnel legend. On a cold, rainy night in the 1800s, a boy who was in a hurry to get home took a shortcut across the railroad tracks at Pumpkin's Run. This kid was really late a lot. He suddenly realized the train was barreling down the tracks at him. In his effort to get off the tracks before the quickly approaching train could reach him, he overturned his buggy and the wheels on the train decapitated him. His ghost now aimlessly wanders the area looking for his missing head to replace the stovepipe he found to use as a head.
What?
I guess they'll just grab anything down.
I guess so.
In this legend, you can go on the tracks or in the tunnel under the train trestle during any rainy and extremely dark night and call Stovepipe 3 times, and he will appear to chase you down and steal your head. Again, don't do it. or a similar version, takes place further on the road from Pumpkin Run, along Horseshoe Bend on Rice's Landing Road. In this tale, another young man is on another rainy night where he overturned his buggy, and instead of the train causing his death, a buggy wheel was responsible for the boy's decapitation.
Gosh.
Townspeople at the scene commented that the wounded neck resembled a stovepipe. His ghost appeared later lying alongside the road, without his head or standing, with a stovepipe in place of his head.
Huh.
There you go. That's how those local legends go. Other versions feature a character named Stovepipe Kelly. In one version, the jealous husband of Kelly's mistress caused the buggy to overturn. In this one, however, the husband was the one to do the deed and remove Kelly's head.
Wow.
One also tells of a man, Stovepipe Kelly, who was nicknamed this because he routinely wore a stovepipe hat.
Oh, see, yeah.
He was a coal miner and a union activist. Angered by his actions, the mine's owners killed him at Horseshoe Bend. As the years went on, the legend began to metamorphose into to fit the times in which the tale was told. The horse and buggy would be replaced by more modern conveyances, such as automobiles. An alternative and more realistic tale is that the ghost of Stovepipe is not at the tunnel going into the Pumpkin Run Park, nor is it at the second tunnel, just a short way up the road that leads up the hill to Horseshoe Bend. The train last ran those tracks in the 1930s and was much too narrow to drive a horse and buggy in. In the early 1900s, a man was coming down Horseshoe Bend when something happened in his buggy, and the buggy that he was driving overturned, and one of the wagon wheels decapitated him. And later, when some townsfolk came to recover his body, it said that his neck was so flat it resembled a stovepipe. Approximately a year later, someone was traveling the road and saw the headless body laying alongside the road. And later mythos about Stovepipe started, and it is said that if you go to the Horseshoe Bend and call out Stovepipe, Stovepipe, I found your head, you can hear Stovepipe coming up the hillside towards you. The part of the legend that Stovepipe comes from the tunnel or was hit by the train was created by some children who were unfamiliar with the town and the local history. So there you go. Something about the author. That's, I don't know who the author, James West. Okay, well, it's fascinating, and that's a great example of how these local legends metamorph and change.
Yep.
So, I mean, is it factual? Maybe there's some piece of factual fact that somebody had passed away.
As opposed to fictional fiction.
Opposed to fictional fiction, yeah, it's factual fact. And so it gives rise to these things, but they obviously change so much. And again, I've told many times on the show, I grew up in Rivertown on the Mississippi in southeastern Minnesota, and we heard stories about when they were putting the foundations in for the new high bridge that replaced the old wooden bridge, and the stories of these divers going down into the murky depths of the Mississippi and coming up absolutely terrified, refusing to ever dive again because they saw fish down there that are the size of sharks, and were absolutely feared for their lives. Now, I grew up thinking that was fact. That was just truth. And it wasn't until I was traveling around the country, and maybe 10, 15 years ago, I started to hear that same tale told in other locations. And it's like, wait a minute. What are the odds? So I think the stories move with the people.
Right.
Like, the story may have some foundation somewhere, but it transposes to the location where people settled that has a bridge that was redone. And these legends continue to grow. Thank you, Majestic Kath. Thank you. She says, Stovepipe, I found your head. That's awesome. Majestic Kath. Okay, cool. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in and checking out the show.
Definitely.
That's awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you all for all the amazing support. But these stories change. I mean, it's, again, like every hotel, the jilted bride, the kid spirit that's, wandering the halls, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and Rachel says these local legends give rise to the tulpa.
Yes. So, good point. Yeah. Very good. Because there's a power of belief.
That's right.
And the power of belief can manifest into something, whether it's actually conscious or is it just an impression that's created by these tulpas.
Right.
You know, it's hard to say, but it is an interesting point. Very good point.
I wonder if Stovepipe's real name is Phil.
Fill my stovepipe. All right. So enough of that one. Very good article. We appreciate that. Thanks to Lon and Phantoms and Monsters for letting us showcase
Definitely.
that. All right, let's go to the next one from Phantoms and Monsters, and this is It Came from the Big Muddy River.
Wow.
Speaking of where I grew up, the Mississippi, it came from the Big Muddy River. I don't know if this is Mississippi, but anyway, it says around midnight on June 25th, 1973, a young couple was parked by a desolate riverside for a romantic interlude when they came face to face with a huge, wet, hairy, mud-slathered monstrosity with a penchant for disturbing teenage lovers. That's one of my favorite things to do. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn. During 2 harrowing weeks in the summer of 1973, the rural town of Murfreesboro, Illinois, became the epicenter of a terrifying series of encounters with a huge albino beast, which would come to be known as the Murfreesboro Mud Monster, or the Big Muddy Monster. Wonder how it was considered white if it was covered in mud. The bizarre beast tormented the citizens of this small community for approximately 14 days before its reign of terror abruptly ended, resulting in one of the stranger and in some ways, most frightening cases in the history of hairy hominid research. I feel like I'm reading Batman here. Holy hairy hominid Batman! The first official encounter.
Bigfoot.
Oh.
Sorry.
The first official encounter with this decidedly unhygienic beast occurred at approximately midnight on June 25th, 1973. A youthful couple, Randy Needham.
Randy. It figures the guy's name's Randy.
It was awful Randy.
It was awful Randy.
He was feeling rather randy. And his last name's Needham. And Judy Johnson, who were parked at the foot of 23rd Street in Riverside Park, near the town's old boat ramp overlooking the Big Muddy River. According to their account, Johnson claimed that they were listening to the radio. Sure you were.
Loved by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf.
That's what you were doing, Randy. Engaged in a debate about when they should leave and presumably doing what couples are wont to do, when they heard a piercing roar, which Needham compared to an eagle shrieking into a microphone.
Wow.
That seemed to emanate from the thick underbrush not far from his car. Needham quickly snapped off the radio and scanned the area, listening intently. There's some pictures here as well. Yeah, it looks muddy. Suddenly, another horrific shriek echoed through the night, accompanied by a rattling in the brushwood in front of them. Needham flicked on the headlights, and Johnson gasped as they both saw a huge, foul-scented creature lumbering towards them. A creature whose very existence would tax the limits of their imaginations. Needham wasted no time in starting the car and accelerating away from the scene. With his frightened girlfriend, as the pair entered more civilized territory, they made a beeline for the Murfreesboro police station. The couple arrived at the station and made out what is known as an unknown creature report, describing the beast that looked like an oversized gorilla, which they estimated to be almost 8 feet tall, with matted, mud-streaked white hair. Former patrolman, now retired Murfreesboro Police Chief Ron Manwaring, was still able to recite the facts of this strange incident from memory almost 3 decades later.
Sounds like a skinwalker.
Do you
Ron
think so?
Manwaring.
Yeah, he got his man suit.
It's an egger suit.
I need some water.
Water.
With sugar. The first report came in just before midnight on June 25th. A couple had been parked near the boat dock on the southwestern edge of Riverside Park next to the woods. The two, who were not married, that only mattered then, said they were in the car, and when they heard a loud screaming noise in the wooded area and observed a large creature approximately 7 feet tall. The creature appeared to have light-colored hair, matted with mud. The creature appeared to be walking on 2 legs and was proceeding towards his car. Oh, there's a map. Okay. That's way in the south part of the state. Manwaring felt that the couple's account was lent credibility due to the fact that they risked exposing their alleged indiscretions, which would no doubt bring them public ridicule, and, even more alarmingly, Johnson's father's wrath They were so frightened by what they had seen by the river, there was no advantage for them to come up and report this. While the officers who took down Needham and Johnson's statement were understandably skeptical of the event, they dutifully sent out 2 patrolmen, Merrill Lindsay and Jimmy Nash, to investigate their report. Within minutes of the sighting, the officers arrived at the boat ramp in the Riverside Park area to inspect the scene. Officer Nash was the first to discover a plethora of peculiar tracks approximately 10 to 12 inches long and approximately 3 inches wide. That's weird. Very narrow.
That means a whole lot to me.
Yeah.
A plethora.
A plethora? Yeah.
Plethora.
It means a whole lot. I see what you did there. And he's deeply impressed in the mud by the riverbank. Nash claimed that as he bent over to inspect the prints from a closer vantage point, he was shocked to hear a horrifyingly shrill screech nearby. Nash took off post haste, accidentally dropping his revolver in panic. He totally urkled out of there. The officer, who admitted that he initially thought the story to be a little more than a hogwash, described the hideous sound as the most incredible shriek I've ever heard. It was in those brushes, and it was no bobcat or screech owl. We hightailed it out of there. Nash and Lindsay quickly went back to the station to report their findings and gather more men for a search party. The officers later estimated that whatever had made that sharp cry was no more than 300 feet away from them. Look at that pose. It's like me at selfie. Approximately 2 hours later at 2 a.m., on the 26th of June, officers Nash and Lindsay returned to the scene, accompanied by Officer Bob Scott and Needham. The quartet swiftly discovered another spate of tracks near the river. As Lindsay ran back to the patrol car to receive a camera, the rest of the group intrepidly followed the prints along the bank. Without warning, the stillness of the black night was shattered by the same horrible screech that Needham and Nash had heard earlier. Fear rapidly usurped curiosity as the trio of men summarily abandoned their search and raced back to the patrol car for safety.
Summarily. It was definitely done.
It was done. After huddling in the car for what must have felt like an eternity, no doubt waiting for the beast to attack, the men managed to regain their courage and continued their pursuit of this enigmatic monster once more. The mini posse worked until dawn, trying to track down the splashing sounds, which they described as being like a large creature rushing through knee-deep water in the distance, to no avail. As the sun rose, the officers felt that this so-called monster would evaporate with the rest of the night shadows, never to be seen again, but this presumably nocturnal fiend had a surprise in store for them. At approximately 10:30 p.m. on the evening of June 26th, 5-year-old Christian Barrel was playing in his backyard, which is located relatively close to the Big Muddy River, attempting to catch fireflies in the glass jar his mother had given him. The child frolicked about delightedly when he spied a colossal white shape looming up from behind the fence that separated his yard from the neighbor's property, the Ray family. The terrified Barrel dropped his jar and raced inside, crying out, "Daddy, Daddy, there's a big ghost in the backyard." The child's father was understandably dubious of his son's story. That was until the neighbors corroborated the tale. This account of a terrifying backyard encounter is uncannily similar to one that befell another young Illinois boy named Greg Garrett just a few months earlier on April 25th, 1973. Garrett claimed to have been attacked while playing in his backyard by a truly bizarre, slimy, three-legged beast known as the Enfield Horror. Like Barrel, Garrett immediately retreated to the relative safety of his parents' house. While Barrel was sobbing in his father's arms, teenager Cheryl Ray was sitting in the darkened back porch next door with her young suitor, Randy Creeth.
Another suitor named Randy.
Randy, that's a big name. The pair claimed that they were talking and looking at the stars when they heard a rustling in the bushes about 15 feet away from the porch. Assuming this was the neighborhood kids come to spy on them, the enraged Ray went inside to turn on the porch light, while Creeth, the son of a state trooper, now a minister at the First Baptist Church in Sheffield, Iowa, leapt to his feet and opened the door. This intention vanished the moment that the light came on, revealing the same appalling apparition that had terrified Barrel just minutes earlier. As well as Needham and Johnson the previous night, Ray recounted the scene. Randy and I were sitting in my parents' breezeway when we heard something in the woods. We both went down, but Randy was walking a little bit ahead when he said, "Come here." And there it was. We stood there looking at it. Creeth and Ray stood frozen in shock as this filthy white monstrosity seemed to stare back at them. Creeth recalled this moment vividly. The thing I remember was the bulk of it, the shape, the human form, and the stench of the river slime it apparently had on it. It was about 8 feet tall and at least as stocky as a New York football player. We were within 15 feet of it, close enough to see the body and texture of the fur, long and hairy like an English sheepdog. Ray also described the beast, which she claimed bore inhuman features and stood more erect than an ape. It was real tall, hairy. I think it was white, but it was dirty, matted, and a real bad odor, and it was really rank. I never smelled anything like it. It seemed like an eternity that we stood there, and then it just turned around and walked off into the woods. We could hear it trampling through the woods. Creeth claimed that the animal stared at them for what felt like a long time, although he later estimated the incident only lasted about 30 seconds.
Which is actually a long time.
It is, really, for an encounter like that. Both agreed that the creature had glowing red eyes, which Creeth accredited to the glow of a distant streetlight. There he is, Randy Creeth. This description of the eyes is significant if one is to assume that the Murfreesboro mud monster is actually a prototypical Bigfoot-like creature that just happens to be albino. While pink eyes are a common trait in animals lacking pigmentation, Ray would insist that this beast's eyes were actually glowing and were not reflecting light from some other source. After this strange interaction, the couple claimed that the shaggy beast simply turned and pushed through the shrubbery, thrashing its way back to the nearby river. Creeth and Ray testified that the creature they saw weighed at least 350 pounds. Again, I don't think that's anywhere close. Stood about 7 feet tall, and they also stated that it had a roundish head and long gorilla-like arms. Officers Nash and Manning were swiftly dispatched to the scene when they noticed a powerful odor that quickly dissipated. They also found a cluster of footprints where the creature had been lurking. Following the officers' discovery, Chief Toby Berger immediately dispatched the rest of his men to the scene, then sent for an officer and trained dog handler with the nearby Carbondale Police Department, a man named Jerry Nellis. Nellis was the owner of a tough German Shepherd named Reb, who had assisted the Murfreesboro police in the past to search and rescue a attack dog and, most pertinently, as a tracker. The officer discovered a trail of unidentified black slime that seemed to lead directly from the raised back porch to the river. Officer Manwaring confirmed the existence of this still unknown material. I saw the substance and it smelled the smell myself. Smelled the smell. Almost instantly, Reb picked up the scent of his prey and took off. The man then followed the dog down the recently forged path of broken tree limbs and trampled underbrush toward their bizarre quarry. The dog managed to track the monster through the dense forest and down a steep embankment towards a small pond, but the brush became too thick for it to continue. The officers began searching the area with flashlight for clues as to where this creature might have escaped, but in no time Reb picked up the scent again. The determined dog darted towards an abandoned barn on the Buller property and was located just east of the Ray's house and a little north of the river. But once he got to the decaying door, the usual courageous canine began trembling and yelping with fear. This mystified both Nellis and the officers, who had noted over the years that Reb was the most relentless tracking dog in the county. Nellis attempted to grab the dog by the scruff of his neck and thrust him through the open door of the barn, but Reb just dropped into his belly and scampered backwards, whimpering. The usually bold Reb's terrified reaction to whatever lurked within the barn was enough to convince Chief Berger to call in the troops.
Yeah, I'd throw in the towel.
Yeah. He radioed for help from neighboring police departments, and within hours a dozen patrol cars had responded to his call. Unfortunately, in the time that had elapsed between Reb's fearful display to the arrival of backup, whatever it was that had hidden in the barn managed to slip out through the back. Not long after, the search was called off for the night, and the disappointed officers returned to their home bases. But this would not mark the end of the Murfreesboro Mud Monster saga, as sightings of the mysterious man-beast were reported 2 more times during the next week and a half. Berger claims that during this period he was worried less about the monster and more about one of the 10,000 Murfreesboro residents shooting another in one of the many armed posses that seemed to spring up like wildfire. The next reported encounter with the beast occurred approximately 10 days later. After traveling carnival set up camp in Riverside Park, the carnival workers chose a pleasant glade near the river between the boat ramp and the sewage treatment plant. Perfect place for a carnival.
Exactly.
Located below the Ray House. At 2 a.m. on the July 7th, long after the carnival had closed up for the night, 3 canines, Otis Norris, Ray Adkersons, or carnies, not canines, 3 carnies, Otis Norris, Ray Adkerson, and Wesley Lavender, were sitting behind one of the carnival trucks discussing the day's receipts when they heard a series of whinnies coming from the Shetland ponies that were tied to the bramble on the other side of the truck. The men quickly got up to see what the commotion was all about and were shocked to find the usually docile ponies in a tizzy with their eyes rolling in terror, furiously tugging at their ropes in a desperate bid to free themselves from their constraints. It wasn't long before the carnies would see what the frenzy was all about. The men maintained that they spied an 8-foot, 400-pound creature that seemed to be calmly watching the ponies. The men decided not to wait around to see what happened next and immediately ran for help, claiming that the monster also ran in the opposite direction. About an hour later, one of the carnival workers called in to help deal with the beast. Charles Kimball claimed that what he saw the creature once again staring at the ponies with its head cocked to the side in what he described as a deeply curious pose. While this would prove to be the last eyewitness report of the creature, its reign of terror was not quite complete. Later that same night, a woman named Nenda Green asserted that she heard a screaming sound coming from a shed on her rural farm. She chose to remain inside her home rather than go out and investigate. Good call. Berger's concerns for the townsfolk's safety led to a request from the town fathers to bring in expert help. The man they chose for the job was St. Louis insurance agent and serious researcher of Sasquatch reports, Harkin Sorkin. Harkin Sorkin. What a name. Sorkin led a group of 5 men, including reporters from the Kansas City Star and a lawyer. Got to have a lawyer.
They're always the first to go.
You saw Jurassic Park, right?
Exactly.
Into the woods near Murfreesboro in the fall of 1973 in an effort to track and possibly capture the Murfreesboro mud monster. Sorkin claimed that the private groups had offered as much as $2.5 million for the creature's capture. Wow. With that in mind, this small expedition came armed with a stun gun and the capacity to take down for a 500-pound animal, as well as chocolate and bananas, which Sorkin stated they would use to pacify the beast. Oh, boy. Bananas. Apparently, Bigfoot don't like bananas. They don't. I mean, people tried, and they don't take them. They also carried loaded shotguns, which they claimed would be only used if their safety were threatened. Sorkin further claimed that they had local zoos standing by, and that arrangements had been made for a cage to be flown in by helicopter, should they get lucky and manage to imprison the monster.
Yeah, that would have been managed by mountain monsters. They got this. They
got this. Don't worry. They do it all the time. Needless to say, this mini expedition met with very little success. Sorkin asserted that they heard a very loud yell and guttural sound between a roar and a bellow and saw huge footprints and found 2-inch saplings pulled out of the ground. Of course, it wasn't long before the press got their talons in this tale of a colossal mud critter. The local paper, the Southern Illinoisan, ran a small story on the search, which was eventually picked up by the New York Times. Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman investigated the sightings in the 70s and came to the conclusion that the mud monster was a Bigfoot-type creature, stating, "I think it's within the context of other reports of a Bigfoot." Coleman also felt that the Murfreesboro mud monster represented a distinct type of ape-like creature distinct from its West Coast counterparts, in that they were known to be more aggressive. There's something very unique about this eastern Midwestern Bigfoot. From the reports of the mud monster, it seemed to frighten people the way it didn't in the West.
Is that a thing, the Eastern Midwestern?
I don't know. Over the next 3 years, there were sporadic reports throughout the area of animals that resembled the mud monster. Perhaps the most intriguing of these sightings occurred on January 26, 1975, when 4 truckers, all of whom were traveling separately, radioed in reports of seeing a bizarre bear-like creature near the Illinois 149 Junction and Murfreesboro. On July 7, 1975, 2 Murfreesboro men reported a sighting of a strange creature that they believed may have been the Big Muddy Monster near a pond in the Harrison community north of Murfreesboro. Needless to say, these isolated events in no way compared to the tremendous flap of encounters that had plagued the community in the summer of '73. The case of the mud monster is just one of 2 cases that remain unsolved in the history of the Murfreesboro Police Department. Police Chief Berger puts it most succinctly when he said, "A lot of things in life are unexplained, and this is another one. We don't know what the creature is, but we do believe what these people saw was real." That was by AmericanMonsters.com, Unexplainable.net, and TheTrueIllinoisHaunts.com.
That was pretty good.
That was a really good very robust article.
Yes.
That's worthy of Brent Swanser. And it wasn't Brent Swanser.
Wow, well.
That's amazing. Again, this is Phantoms and Monsters, but I don't know if Lon wrote this or who wrote it, but God, they did a hell of a job.
Yep.
Well done. Very well done. But that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, Meg. I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know what Eastern Midwestern is. I don't think the Midwesterner knows what Eastern Midwestern is either.
I've never heard it before.
There you go. See?
Never heard of it, but I'm sure it's a thing.
It must be a thing.
It's a thing if we think it's a thing.
Well, at least in 1973 it was a thing. And that was 49 years ago. So.
That's just way too long.
That's a long time ago.
Nearly my lifespan. Jeez.
Almost mine too, yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Rock
folks.
on.
Well, we went a little bit overtime. I hope you're okay
Overtime.
with that. We did 17 minutes extra.
Yep.
Full of love, and hope you guys enjoyed the journey. Thank you again to you guys all for being here. We absolutely love and adore you all, and thank you so much for the support. If you enjoyed the show, please let people know. We are literally under 100 people away from 10,000 subscribers.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping we can get there before the end of the month.
Yeah, because we need to be 10,000 before our 5th year starts.
Because in April, we begin our 5th year
That's right.
on YouTube. Or is it, we finished the 5th year? Is it beginning?
So we started August. We had started July. Actually, I'm sorry. I joined in April of 17. So April 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, geez.
It's completing the 5th year.
It's completing the 5th year
so
for me.
on April.
6th year for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
There you go, folks. There you go. So if you want to help make this happen, that we hit the 10,000 subscriber goal,
just share.
Post this to your social media.
That's right.
Let other people know and encourage them to come and enter the Paranormal Portal. All right, folks, that's all we got. Don, anything in closing?
Love you all. Teespring for your Paranormal Portal gear.
And the link is in the description if you want some portal gear. That's where you
And
find
if
it.
we hit 10,000 subscribers, we might actually be able to bookshelf it onto the YouTube.
There you go. Absolutely. And if we hit 10,000 subscribers, we'll be doing a special show. And it'll feature games and contests and giveaways. So we want to have that festival with you guys as soon as possible. So keep it in mind. Help spread the word. Bring your friends. Friday's Bring Your Friend Day.
Sure.
Bring a friend day to the portal. All right, guys, that's all we got. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. And find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. We'll see you Friday night right here on the portal.
Good night.